It's Lucy of ShineSparkL Marketing Education for photographers, back with another video. And today I'm going to be talking about a blog post that I wrote back in 2019 that is still very, very relevant. And it's called Everything in Your Business is Your Fault. Now, the reason I'm doing this video today is because yesterday I had on my mind or somehow came across the word duty. And I don't know if it was a podcast I listened to or a blog post that I read, but this concept of duty started to, sort of throw itself around in my head. And it recalled for me this blog post that I wrote called Everything in Your Business is Your Fault. So, why a sense of duty? When we think of duty, we might think more like in terms of something formal, military, like your duty, jury duty, things like that. But what I mean by duty is a sense of obligation that I must have as a business owner and as a service provider. Now, I think a lot of what happens in our business that we don't love so much is partially a problem with structure, that we haven't created the structure for our business that it needs to operate. So when we kind of just build things as they go and we haven't put too much thought into them, like a marketing plan, for example, then we may run into problems because of that. The other reason I feel that we run into problems is because we don't have a sense of duty adequately established in our business. And the reason why it's important to marketing is because it creates sort of the foundation of our brand. So, going back to this blog post, when I say everything in your business is your fault, what it means that ultimately, as a business owner, everything, your entire reality, your daily reality, is a result of something you have or you have not done. And, often I see photographers go into Facebook groups and they say, the client was late or the client didn't pay on time. But typically that's preceded by a decision that the photographer made, that they didn't enforce the time, that they didn't remind the client that time was ticking and they wouldn't have anything beyond that time. Or stress the importance of coming 15 minutes early to kind of get that buffer, or they didn't demand payment when the client didn't pay and said, okay, you can pay, next week or after, after the photos are delivered, things like that. And that's when we run into problems. So, but oftentimes we don't want to take responsibility for those things because it's scary to do so. We are already scared when we're creating our businesses, and accepting responsibility for difficult things can make us feel deflated and defeated. And we don't want to feel that way. So it's a level of protection that we put around ourselves, and we protect ourselves from our clients. And what that does is it actually creates a barrier for you to move forward confidently in your business. So what I say in this blog post is that you want everything to be your fault. Absolutely, you want everything to be your fault, because that means you have control over everything. I mean, many of us got out of, gray cubicle, 9 to 5 work in order to have control over our destiny and freedom within our journey. And so, what it means when it's all your fault, it means that you can change it and you can make it to be what you want it to be. And then, so if you let in a client and it was the wrong decision, you can change whatever those circumstances were so that it doesn't happen again. It's the beauty of having everything be your fault, is that you can then change it. And then when you have a win, then it's your fault too. And then you can take full credit for that and feel really, really good that no matter what, good or bad decisions, they're all your decisions and you own them. So the sense of duty is something I believe that we need to all cultivate. And especially new photographers who get into photography, kind of from a hobby place into, a taking money place. When we're shooting for ourselves, we often don't have a sense of duty to anybody. We're just doing what we love. But as soon as we start taking money from somebody else, that obligates us. It creates a duty. And when we really take that seriously, that duty, as seriously as I would take a jury duty or anything else I'm asked to do, for the good of others, let's say community or society, is that I have created a commitment for myself that now I am a business owner. I have created a situation where people can give me money in order to have me provide a service. And I must take that very, very seriously. And when I do that, and the way that I take it seriously gets developed into your brand. And that's what moves the needle on your brand voice. So let's take, for example, a website where somebody is saying, you know, your session is going to be relaxed and fun and easygoing. That's you're indicating what your duties are, really. And it reads like a resume almost. This is, these are my characteristics. And then you must act in accordance with those. So if a client doesn't pay their invoice on time, let's say, and you email them every single day for 5 days until they pay, that's not so easy going. So you're kind of breaking your own expectation of what people thought they were going to get with you. Now, I'm not saying that it's okay for them not to have paid their invoice on time, but in essence, part of the duty would be to ensure that the invoice was paid on time before anything else happened. And then also to ensure you have a plan to, in that easygoing and fun manner, ensure that those things are done that need to get done. But what ends up happening is that we end up in this combative us and them. So if they don't fall in right away, we don't have any empathy for them, and we're like, why aren't they paying? They're not paying me. They don't value me, and we go from there, and it kind of can spiral. So when I think about my duty as a photographer, I really realize that I have a lot in my hands. Now, the world doesn't depend upon it. No, nothing is going to happen tragically to anybody if I don't perform. Although one can argue that if I'm doing a wedding and I don't perform, then that is a tragedy because it's a never do over again moment. But in essence, it's not like I'm operating in a life or death situation here. But it should not absolve me from taking on the responsibility as a business owner, as a professional, as a creative, to fulfill the obligations that I need to fill as part of this role. And it was kind of a shakeup for me yesterday when I was thinking about this, because I do take my business very seriously. I take my customer satisfaction and experience very seriously as well. But it never occurred to me to think of it more as a duty to somebody. And when it actually hit me, I thought, wow, they are putting a lot of faith in me by giving me a lot of money. And that also comes with, when you're raising your prices, there is more of an obligation there to be able to perform. And when I have really considered that aspect, it makes me a better professional, a better photographer, and I can communicate that better in my marketing and my branding. So a sense of duty, I will feel it sort of in my chest, when I go to a photo session. There's times where I've been, tired in the morning and sort of gathering my things. And then I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm in the car. I'm like, do I have everything? And I'm like, I didn't follow my process. Last night, I should have done my whole checklist, and I should have, because I have one developed of, charging my batteries, making sure my cards are clean and ready. And I was like, wow, I really didn't take this seriously, because I'm, whatever, a family session or something that I'm really well versed in now, and it's kind of old hat. But you know what? I have a duty to go through my checklist every single client, even if I'm tired. And so it allows me to stay on my own toes and not get too comfortable in the fact that I know what I'm doing, and just giving every client my 110% or 100,000%, and fulfilling that duty for them in a very serious and professional manner. So basically, if we write stuff on our website about the things that we do or who we are or how we're going to serve people, think of it as your duty to fulfill those things. And when you think about it as your duty, then you will feel more confident in those words. And then you can go ahead and use those words in more marketing and branding exercises. And that kind of confidence and radical responsibility that you're building is attractive to people, and is specifically attractive to your ideal client who wants to be served at that professional and, top-notch level. That's why they came to you, right? So what duty does is it allows us to really live and embody the brand that we are developing. And I feel that it can do nothing but good. If we look at this this blog post, I talk about a concept originated by Simon Sinek, who's a motivational speaker, and it's called the circle of safety. And he talks about it in the context of like corporations who work, with, you work with a team. But I find that it really applies here as well. He talks about the circle of safety in the sense that, a manager and their team are a circle of safety. So people can feel comfortable, people can feel that they can speak out or communicate, share their ideas, and not ever feel like they're going to be cast out. And when I think of the circle of safety, this is my business. When somebody comes into my business, it's my responsibility to open the door for them, which means that it would have been my duty before then to ensure that the right people are coming through the door. And that's about developing my ideal client profile, and that's about really embodying my brand to speak to a very particular person that I want to work with. So if I've done my duty there, that means that the people who are walking through into my circle of safety are a pretty good fit. And when they come into my circle of safety, I have now taken on the duty to bring them through to the other side of my business. And this is where a lot of photographers struggle. So they've accepted somebody into the circle of safety, but then that person becomes challenging, and they've complained or been rude or something like that, and it all kind of falls apart, and they don't know how to solve that. And if you think back to your duty and your circle of safety, you say, I've let this person in. So now I have to lead them to the exit in the most graceful way possible. And I have a duty to stick with my brand when that happens. So as tempting as it is, I can't just, become a vindictive human and, take it very personally and be angry and, lash out at them or get very defensive. It's not going to serve you well. And it brings in a personal level, which makes things very, very difficult, because then clients could feel attacked and they don't respond well to that. So think of your circle of safety as the place where you enact your duty. And if there is a difficult situation, then you use all of your brand promises and your business professionalism to move them out of the circle of safety and to that exit. But it is your duty to do so. It is not your duty to drop them, to block them. If there's an extreme situation, okay, we can talk about that. But for the most part, if somebody is just a dissatisfied customer who complains a little bit, or is not doing the things that you want them to, like they're late to the session, or like just not being a great client, you cannot just have these knee-jerk reactions it is your duty, by accepting their money and accepting them into your business, to move them to the exit. And you never have to work with them again if that's the case. But there is a duty there that you must fulfill. So in the blog post, I talk about like a visitor center in another country, because that is an example where we kind of feel uncomfortable. So if you go to a foreign country that you've never been to and you walk into the visitor center, and what you're expecting is some help, right? Because you don't know where you're going, how to catch a cab, where the hotel is. You may not know the language, so you're feeling a little bit tense. You're probably tired from a flight. And a lot of times, if you can hear this as an echo of photographers. Well, the client should have known. So if I walked into a visitor center and I said to the person at the desk, well, how can I find my hotel? They said, well, didn't you research it online? Be like, no, but I'm asking you, can you help me? And maybe I didn't have time. Maybe my hotel changed. Who knows? But a lot of times photographers will be like, well, the client's wardrobe is not my responsibility. But the client has never been to this country, meaning they've never maybe had a photo shoot, and they didn't know that particular outfit wasn't going to look good on them, let's say. Because then they're like, we're not responsible when somebody says, can you flatten the tummy, or can you do this, or shape me, or take away a strap? And we just lash right out at a client. But if you think of yourself as that host at that visitor center, it doesn't matter what research the person did or didn't do. They want your help right there. And you have entered that circle of safety. And it is now that person's duty to move you into a direction where you can be helped and then move on. Right? So they can tell you simply, well, this is where the hotel is. This is how you can get there. Or they can say, well, go talk to so-and-so somewhere else at another spot, and they can help you. But getting upset, trying to blame people, it's not helpful, right? So all that to say is that as the days go on, and as I do more research into the 5-pillar ShineSparkL approach, it occurs to me that there are certain things that underpin and are foundational to our business and our marketing. And that sense of duty, cultivating that sense of duty, is very important, especially for those who have had a start in photography from YouTube videos and things like that. So if you weren't an entrepreneur before, and you are really taking on a lot of responsibility, and if you have a knowledge and a real feel for that responsibility, then it will help you and motivate you to do a great job for clients. And then if we go further and say that everything is your fault, that means that you can take credit for the wins and you can repair the fails, which makes you all that much stronger, all that much more resilient. So I felt like it was my duty today to talk about this topic with you, and go and read the blog post. I'm going to post this video embedded into the blog post as well. And otherwise, I hope you have a great day.